In the theme of the Scrub Roundtable, we have a big listener. He listens to every show that we put out there, and he's been wanting to come on the show for a long time. And so, hey, we're pretty cool. So we just brought Ryan Krueger on the show. So
answer some questions.
Yeah, he had some questions for us. We bopped it around a little bit. I had to shut him down a few times because it is my show. But what a fun time, man. Thank you, Ryan, for requesting it. Thank you for listening, man. We really appreciate it, and we had a blast hanging out with you, man. Thanks to Ryan Krueger. We hope all you lighting dorks out there. You know what's funny is that a lot of times when we talk to other like lighting distributors and people in the industry, Greg, those are very popular. People seem to really like those shows.
Yeah, and you know what's fun about that is that this is episode number 150. It seems like every 50 or so we scrub it up. So let's continue that tradition.
There you go. Yeah, so 50, 150. Well, that was pure luck.
Yeah.
There you go. This episode of the show, a bunch of scrubs down there too that I love at Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. I knew you could do it, Josh. Go ahead. What were we going to talk about though, Greg?
With Keystone. So they have a product that makes sense in some applications. Let me paint the picture for you. I was there yesterday at this customer who had strip fixtures, industrial reflectored strip fixtures, 4 foot, 8 foot, 2 lamp, 4 lamp, 8 foot bulb, 4 foot bulb. Just a mix match. Small, not that big of a place, but they had every different type you could imagine. So sure, you could come in and do tubes. That's an easy solution. But the reflectors are dirty. They're nasty looking. Now you got to replace the reflector and the tube. Okay, that adds some cost. Reflectors aren't cheap. Now you got to do all this. What's another solution? How about you check out Keystone's integrated strip retro kit? Check that thing out. You'll see it on the screen. Now you can just take the reflector off, take the ballast cover off, take the tubes out, take the driver out, and bang that thing on. 4 foot, 8 foot sections, all the colors. It's dimming if you need to get that way. It has a couple lumen packages, and it looks nice. It modernizes these nasty looking strips. So tubes make sense a lot, but not all the time. Sometimes you got to integrate that thing up. Put that strip fixture on there.
You know, I'll tell you, man, that there's a real argument for that. There's times when you look at that old nasty industrial fixture and you're like,
yeah, like, oh.
You know that body is strong as hell. Like the back part of it, if it's like 30 years old, it's made of gauge of steel that they just don't make light fixtures of anymore. It's strong as like an ox. You bop that retrofit kit in there, man, it looks like a new fixture, man. It's really nice sometimes, man. So Keystone, guys, to keep that in your arsenal, go to KeystoneTech.com. That's KeystoneTech.com, baby. Of course, proud members of Nailed. Here comes Ryan Krueger. To the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, long-time listener, first time on the show, Ryan Krueger. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's awesome to be on the show with you guys. It's an honor, honestly.
Oh, come on, man. Don't get all crazy on us. Say hi to Greg Ehrich.
What? Greg, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for being on, Ryan. Hey, you've emailed us a few times, and you're new to lighting. You brought up this idea, and we thought it was a good one. You've been in the industry for about a year, and then you wanted to ask us some questions, and that's what we're going to roll. So maybe tell us what you were thinking, and then let's get into it.
So basically, I've been in lighting for 2 years. I've been in energy conservation for a total of 5, and knowledge is kind of the biggest thing, and that's always the hurdle anytime somebody asks you a question. If you don't know it or can give them the right direction, you're kind of sitting in the water. And so basically, I have a list. Anytime you guys do podcasts, I basically okay, here's a question that I have. And so I have a notepad full of questions. And so just looking to pick your guys' brain on the best practice for, I guess, retrofit as a whole.
Who the hell does this guy think he is coming on show asking the questions? I asked the questions.
I don't know.
That's how it's gonna go.
People have wanted to ask you a lot of questions, but I guess I might be the brain that can actually relate with what you two do on a daily basis to ask the right questions. So,
all right,
we'll see.
My brain.
Let's do it.
We'll see. Yeah, maybe this will be fun for you guys. So I guess the lighting industry itself is extremely broad. And when I started, I did not understand that. I just wanted to sell people light bulbs. And so this last year, I was exposed to a bunch of different projects. a bunch of different scopes of what you can do within the lighting industry. And it's basically based on who calls the office, which is kind of weird because you could end up trying to sell MR16s or color changing fixtures on a church steeple. So those are way different. And so you two both run small specialized lighting distributorships. What does that actually mean? And like, what do you guys stock? How is the inventory determined? How, like, give a background of what you guys legitimately do.
Well, I think we're both different, but I'll give you a little background on myself, and then Mike can jump in. And I think that's the first thing to take into mind is when you talk about a specialized lighting distributor, we're all doing something similar, but we're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
We have different types of customers and different ways to go to market and different ways to different products to sell and things like that. It's all lighting related, but we all have our own mindset. You know, there are some people that are all about selling just the supply to whoever wants to buy it. There's other people that are into selling the supply to the end user and trying to control the process kind of from start to finish. A lot of lighting distributors sell to contractors, for example. Myself, my company, we don't sell a lot to contractors. We typically sell to end users and kind of lead the project, lighting retrofit project from start to finish. And I think you'll find that the distributors that have had the most success in recent years have to have had done projects. They started as a supply house, like somebody needs an MR16 light bulb that burns out, we sell it to them. And then it was like, well, now they got this LED. Oh, you have 50 MR16s. Why don't you convert them all to LED? And then you start rolling into projects. And from there, it morphed into, you know, everybody having different ideas. So how we do it, we sell to the end user. I think that's a good way to sum it up is that we try to go from the start to the finish to the end user. Mikey?
So I think what makes a lighting distributor unique, like what do you mean when you say okay, so like Greg said, everybody has different go-to-market strategies. If you talk to, in the last, people had a lot more in common 20 years ago than they do now, okay? But what they have, what most of us have in common is a warehouse. So that means that there's a significantly sized warehouse, whether that's 2,000 or 200,000 square feet, okay? And it has light bulbs in it, okay? Right? And so there's like that's the first thing. The second thing is usually a multiple dealership model. So they're supporting lots of different brands. So they'll have different brands, same product, but in different brands available to them. And then the other thing is that they'll have an order desk and usually counter sales. Not everybody has a counter. Like I know Greg doesn't really have a walk-in counter to serve people, but people will come in and pick stuff up from him. So counter is kind of 50-50. Some guys have counter, a lot of counter sales. Some guys don't. I have a counter, but I don't have a lot of counter sales. So there's order desk, counter sales, warehouse. People call in and they find the bulb they're looking for, right? And so that would be what a lighting distributor is. The other thing is like you want to be the person in your town that can always find that light bulb, right? That's kind of traditionally what a lighting distributor is. Like you'll always be able to find them the light bulb they need. In the last 15, 20 years, well, with the rise of high efficiency linear fluorescent, that was a major game changer. So then all of a sudden, all sorts of HIDs started coming out of the ceilings. If it's round, we take it down. That was like an expression we had back then. And we would, replace that. And so then that dovetailed perfectly with LEDs. And so we kind of smoothly rolled into that. And so most distributors have morphed from, supplying replacement light bulbs into a host of different kinds of activities, bucket trucks, doing outdoor signs. But you're right. The lighting industry has a lot of outlets at the end of the chain, at the end of the channel. And some of those outlets are sales agencies. Some of them are distributorships. Sometimes it's sign people. Other times it's lighting designers and specifiers and engineers. So there's a lot of outlets to the market. And we've seen that increase, and we've seen the channel become more complicated and kind of invert itself. And so a paradigm has shifted quite a bit. But generally what you're going to find is a lighting distributor has a warehouse, order desk, and counter sales. And then some website sales too. Many lighting distributors don't sell anything online.
They still do the traditional model. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what I wanted. Yeah, because basically on our end, it's like someone calls the office and like they have XYZ request. It gets dished to somebody. They go out and it could be counting an MR16 or a 300,000 square foot warehouse. So like at any given time, your knowledge base could be brought into question. So like you got to run the whole gamut on all the information that you need to know, or at least be able to like find it and then bring it to somebody else and have them break it down and figure out exactly how you're going to need to make the sale. Greg, you've been in lighting for a very long time, so you've basically sold metal halide, replaced it with fluorescent all the way across the board, all the way to LED. When you first started working at Premier, how did you educate yourself on fluorescent and legacy tech? I guess that could be a question for Michael too.
Yeah, I'll do my version first, but I started in 2006. So to start off with, I never really sold metal halide high base. I got to admit that because it was at the point when high base T8 and T5 high base came along fluorescent. So it's maybe a handful, but not many. Primarily, what I was doing was going in and replacing high base with linear fluorescent high base. As far as how I learned, back then there weren't as many online training programs. There were a couple that were just starting and real basic, but there were more in-person meetings and things too. And I did a couple in-person. I went to a GE training. I went to a sensor switch training. I went to a couple others, and there may be some local training that they had at manufacturing reps and things like that. So I did those. I took every catalog I could. I read them all the time. I took them home and I'd read them at night, and then like really try to get to understand what everything was, like taking full print catalogs. And then it was just learning in the field. Yeah. So
lighting catalogs, we will say catalogs.
Okay, I know.
So so they're thinking about like the Sears catalog when you were a kid and you would flip it to the girls wearing the underwear, buddy. Like that's what they think. Right? Oh, but look at it.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, when you're looking
at my lighting catalogs,
a lighting catalog back in the day was packed full of good information. Like you would pull out a Philips catalog on whatever, and then the first 1/3 of it was
lighting from 1980.
No.
Well, I'm just saying.
Those guys were smart, dude. They may have been smarter than the guys now, actually.
That's awesome.
You open a lighting catalog and you start to read, and it would have very well written, structured prose that was meant for somebody that was new to lighting to read.
Yes.
And so you'd bring home these lighting catalogs. Some of them would be the thick as phone books, and you'd start reading about CFLs. I know so many guys that tell this story too that came into lighting around the same time Greg and I came into it, and like I came in 2000 or something like that, and I did the same course as Spencer Switch. GE, both Greg are like, you went to that? Yeah, I did too. Oh my God. But we both kind of went the same path, but the catalogs were full of cool information, man. I had this whole catalog that talked about CFL retrofit kits. Remember that? Probably, Greg, you might have missed this.
I have a question about that.
So they used to have these kits, these reflectors that you would put together on the bulb and
like
screw
a 3-piece thing.
Yeah, Panasonic had great there's another
Those are nasty.
In the ceiling.
Yeah, there's another one called Mitor. The catalog for Mitor was so awesome because you'd flip through it and it would have all these descriptions of an existing fixture and then how you retrofit. Like I learned more about retrofitting from the Mitor catalog than anywhere else because it had it all
just
laid out.
Point blank.
Yeah, they had it all laid out. Like this is this lamp and this is the kit for it and here's how it goes in and this is why it works and so on and so forth. It was really good. There was another one called they were first company I ever saw that made those retrofit kits where you go from a 4-lamp T12 to a 2-lamp T8 with the reflector. If I could remember their name. Oh man, they had a good name too.
I have not seen that picture in the wild.
So we would put these aluminum kits and then it went to lighting white and whatever. And we put with a little dimple in it that would push more light out. And so I learned a lot just from reading catalogs, Ryan Krueger.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too was in the field as it is now. But I mean, I would go out in the field and I would handwrite everything and draw it out. And I take, we had cell phones, so I took pictures. But I actually had a digital camera. I remember bringing a digital camera with me, but a lot of it was drawing and figuring it out as I went. And I come back to the office and ask somebody who might know. So
I had
it
a
took a while.
Polaroid camera. When I started, I used to take Polaroid pictures and bring them back.
Oh man, what did you do? How did you organize the photos? Like you do the audit, then you have all your stuff that you've accumulated. Like, how did you organize that? Did it just go in a manila folder among a ton of other manila folders full of Polaroids?
No, I just had a big box full of shit. Dump it in there.
I just kept it on the camera and then would scroll back through to find it.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. I guess it's just how old stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good answer from both you guys. That's sweet.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. Greg, what was the transition like to become the VP of Premier, and what new responsibilities did that bring?
It was pretty quick turnaround for me. That was part of the deal and me getting in lighting when I did. But it was, it went from focusing on just what you're doing and your activities and trying to grow your own sales to everyone else's. And that was my role, is to now have to take on what everybody else is doing and figuring that out. And it's all about time management at the end of the day, everything is. And if you manage your time appropriately, and if you hire the right people and you train them the right way, then you have more time to do your thing. So for me, it wasn't, a huge issue. So do pretty well at managing time for the most part. But it was a little different at the start. And then I got into it, and now I don't know any different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why did you choose to get your LC over potentially some of the other higher lighting certifications? And I guess how has getting that LC benefited your career?
So I didn't know that I don't know what other accreditations there are that. Yeah, maybe something like that. But to me, it didn't make a lot of sense. The LC it still is the top certification in lighting, at least in my mind, and I think at most people's mind in lighting. But I did it just because, I wanted to advance my learning for one. And, I went through the class and took some time in lighting, and it was about 5 or 6 years in to lighting that I got into it. And another reason why is because there's a city in Minnesota that needs an LC to sign off on a layout in order for the fixture or the project to be approved. And I didn't want to have to go ask somebody else to sign it. So I got it so I could sign it. And that was, I don't know, 10 years ago now, it looks like. I'm looking on my wall to see the certificate. But it's been worth it. I think it's something where you continue to advance, and you need to be successful in lighting. You can't learn everything at once. It's an ongoing process. So I think it's the best certification you can get in lighting. That's why I did.
The other thing is that Paul Hafner forced everybody in Nailed to get the LC. He was very, very pushy that way. One thing we forgot to mention is how much we learned at Nailed.
Oh yeah, I mean that's where all this stuff, Ryan, really comes from. That's why Mike and I are talking and doing this.
Like you guys have done your round tables a couple times, and those are the most interesting because that's like macro level lighting retrofits, and you guys kind of span a bunch of different industries, so it's super interesting to see people just talking
about the scrub round tables.
Yeah, like those are super entertaining just because you guys have been doing this for so long that like you walk through a building and you know exactly how the electrical system works, all the lighting, and so like your brain power just allows you, like, I got this, enter it all in, sell this as fast as I can, done. That's not 100% where my brain's at, but like I'm getting there. So like seeing you guys do it is awesome. Like, because the better your knowledge base is, the faster you can get stuff done, the faster you can complete the project, and that's what you want.
I think there's a combo pack there, Ryan. I think you want to make sure speed. The speed comes with the experience, not the other way around. You don't get the experience from using speed.
No, you need the knowledge base first. That's kind of why COVID was interesting. It allowed everything to kind of pause and for me to evaluate what I needed to get better at and where I needed to kind of like focus in and figure out how I can get better at certain areas.
You
And so,
talking
like,
about the virus hoax? Is that what you're talking about?
no, it's not even real. But like, it gives you a frame of reference to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. And now, I guess 2.5 months, 3 months later, like, I've watched it pick back up, and I've watched like what I tried to improve on actually get better, and the results have happened in the last 2 weeks. So it's fun. It's like,
Good for you,
I don't know.
man. That's a good story.
Sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys have both been in lighting. Where am I going with this question? What's the strangest request you've ever gotten from a phone call? I fielded one like 2 weeks ago that was very entertaining, and I guess like across the board, if anything sticks out.
From a call.
What was your call? Why don't you go first?
Somebody called in or somebody emailed and had something weird. Okay, so I got we had somebody call in and they wanted UV lighting to kill the Rona, but they wanted it battery operated in a A19 that they could attach to a lanyard. We had just had 2 or 3 different UV. Oh yeah, we had 2 or 3 different like UV companies give us presentations. So like, I fully understand like the science and the fact that it's a xenon bulb that's this big. So I'm thinking like, okay, one, I can't just barrage this dude who is clearly like sitting in his recliner like, I want a lanyard that can kill the Rona. Like, no, that's not how I get the information that I need from him. So I like poked at it and like, what specifically are you using this for? And he just like unloaded the whole thing. And I basically said like, there isn't a battery operated version of this. Like what and he started to get into nanometers of UV, which I know that like I had to figure out how to state exactly what the science was without coming off standoffish.
So you're in stage 2 of your development. Yeah, there's 4 stages.
How many? Yeah.
Yeah. So stage 2 is like cocky with a little bit of knowledge.
Uh-huh.
Like you have enough knowledge, Ryan, to be dangerous.
I need to get hit in the face a couple times.
Yeah. Like, so the tagline of Atlas Lighting is the strongest in lighting supply. That's our tagline, premier for all your lighting needs. I think it is for you, right, Craig?
No,
Change a little, but
yeah.
connecting light to you, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's like those are
Yeah.
the real
tagline.
The real tagline of Atlas Lighting is, we sell you whatever you want to buy.
Exactly. Yeah. If it was feasible and I could have got that guy what he wanted, sure. But he needed a xenon pulse bulb
but it's
with
like
a backpack with a battery in it attached to like a cable.
Yeah,
I
find that what happens with people in kind of stage 2, when they start to actually get a little bit of knowledge, they know some stuff. They can actually help people. They go out and they get not into arguments, but they get into these long, drawn-out phone calls where they're giving people all manner of free information and different advice. And when there's no sale at the end of it or whatever, I find that a lot. What you want to do is like, for me, is
how do you cut it down? Like
you want to get away from the.
Got to vet.
You got to get away from those people, like the people
that they buy stuff.
Right. No. But if you have nothing to sell them, you definitely don't want to be arguing with them, spending time on the phone. You know what I'm talking about, Greg? I don't know. Did you ever experience this? It's like some guy going on and on and on and on and on. And sometimes it's actually a competitor who's calling you, spying on you.
Oh, well.
Like, what other companies do you guys sell to? And the guy's just talking. They'll be listening to this guy. And then all of a sudden a pen gets thrown at him. What are you talking about, boy? Shut your mouth. Right, so you want to be careful, right, with that. There's like a stage in lighting where you have enough knowledge to be dangerous, right? You want to be, especially with UVC lighting. I don't think anybody knows shit. To be honest with you.
No, I've gone like.
I'm talking distributors here.
I don't know. I don't know if the scientists. Well, the scientists have the science, but like I don't know how it gets deployed effectively.
So. Weirdest phone call, Greg. What was your weirdest phone call?
I was trying to think of it. I don't know. I don't think I've had anything weirder than that one.
That was an email, though. I was just saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. I'm trying to think of a weird phone call here where
I mean, I've had people trying to, retrofit things that shouldn't be retrofitted a certain way. Like people trying to take a PLL lamp, a long 4-pin plug-in, and convert it into without getting socket bars, convert a 2x2 fixture into 2-foot tubes. You need a socket on each end now, and they've come up with creative ways. I've had one guy who had like cut a hole in the side of it and recessed a socket to be able to get that socket in, and I'm like,
and then you got to
it's
tell
crazy.
the guy he needs a new fixture at the end of the day.
That's what you try, and then they get sold on their idea, and you got to let them sell what they want.
I got one where I got jacked. You want to hear that story? I got jacked.
Yeah.
I got had the first project I sold. I got had for like 75 tubes.
Well, here I'll tell you this story. So back in the early 2000s, we used to get calls all the time from illegal marijuana grow ops trying to buy HPS lamps and ballasts and like weird, like 1500 watt and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So this guy calls up. And he calls up and he says, yeah, this is a Jack from Johnson Electric. Now, Jack from Johnson Electric. I should have been kicked off right there, right? There's no Jack at Johnson Electric. Like, it's such a fucking lying name. Oh, such a lying name. Oops. Beep. It's such a lying name. Like, it's like, what's your name? Rob Robertson. There's nobody named Robert Robertson. Maybe there is, but I mean, it's like, you see, I should have got tipped off right away, right? So, because there actually is a Johnson Electric. I didn't say the real name of the company, but there actually is one, and I knew of it. So, and he's like, "Yeah, I need 50 1,000 watt HPS lamps and ballasts and this capacitors." And I'm like, yeah. Oh, this is a great deal. I was cooking it up. It was gonna be like $4,000 or $5,000, and I was like getting all hot, right? And I was thinking about I'm writing it all up, right? And then I go to the guy. He still works here, Joe, and I said, we're gonna do this order, and I got to call this guy back. And the guy's like, he wants to buy all this stuff not in fixtures. I'm like, yeah. and he says,
what kind of facility is it?
Yeah, he's like, no, this guy's growing dope, dude. Don't get involved with it. It never works out good, right? Because they're criminals actually at that time. It's not like now where it's legal or whatever. These guys were full blown criminals at the time.
Yeah,
right?
it's very illegal
what they were doing.
Like 50 is a lot of them.
Right. So I call him back, and I'm like, screw that. I'm going to do this deal. This is going to be $1,000 commission for me. I'm going to do it. The guy's going to prepay with his credit card. It's none of my business what the hell he does with the light bulbs, right? So the guy's like, yeah.
20s.
Yeah. He's like, can I pick it up at your supplier? Because I'd have to bring it in because I need it right away. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do that. Right. Just enough knowledge to be dangerous. Right. Yeah. We can set up a pickup at our supplier. And he's like, yeah, I don't have enough money on my credit card. Can I put it on 2 different credit cards? And I'm like, yeah, I don't see why not, right? So I go and I write everything down, and I take the order and I go process the credit cards. They go through, we get our money. The guy goes out to the thing and picks up the stuff. Everything goes great. I'm going to make my $1,000 or whatever it was. Next day after, boom, both credit cards were stolen.
You guys
lost.
Do you lose the money?
Oh, for sure, dude. So when a credit card bounces, the vendor.
So he double got you. Did he get the lights?
Yeah, he went to the supplier.
Ship them out?
No, he went to the supplier, picked them up directly from the supplier.
Oh.
And then
how many times do you think he's done that? Did that
Jack
feel like
Johnson
it was the first
from Johnson
time?
Electric?
Yeah, Jack Johnson. Great at the guitar.
So there's my phone story. Just enough knowledge to be dangerous. At that time.
What's the largest cold call tube retrofit project you've ever done? Like quantity of tubes. You know
what do you mean by like a cold call?
They didn't call you. You hopped in on them.
Oh. Probably 70% of my sales.
Yeah, I would say like almost all, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Over time. So, I mean, I don't know. I've sold jobs that are 20,000 tubes, something like that.
I would say same thing. Not quite 20,000, maybe like 16,000, something like that.
Well,
how big of a building is that? I guess school.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like, do you guys? Because Michael, do you do a lot of schools too?
No. No, just private schools, not school boards.
Okay, but I mean, either like a chunk of your business is schools. Like, do you have it like mapped out to like average elementary? You're looking at like between 1,000 and 1,500 tubes, or is that too fine point on it?
I don't think. I think schools are a sector that, especially school boards in Ontario, a lot of that is spec and bid process, and I don't like the spec and bid process. It doesn't suit my business. I like the design build process. So I don't really do a lot of that.
Yep.
Greg, it was mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago that you sold 800 high bays. How big was that facility, and how long did that audit take you?
It was, a couple 100,000 square feet, probably 300,000-400,000. I don't know the exact number, but good size, obviously, to fit 800.
That's huge.
And the audit itself, I think, took me 2 hours maybe to count. It's pretty open, so it wasn't too difficult. From that standpoint, I've been in smaller buildings that have taken a lot longer. But the process from start to finish was like 4 years from when I initially counted it to when it sold.
When you did the first walkthrough?
Yeah. Okay. And it was fluorescent before, and now it's LED. So, or maybe it was even 5 years, I guess. Yeah.
Did you sell the fluorescent or no? Did you sell them the fluorescent tubes? No. Okay.
Well, you're talking longest open to close time.
If you have some of that, go that. Well, I'm just saying because like.
So I remember this one company that I cold called and then audited. They bought some light bulbs. So they bought a couple of cases of light bulbs on a cold call. I walked in off the street hot. The guy's like, "Yeah, I'll take a couple cases 8 foot, a couple cases 4 foot, box ballast." I sold it, right? But it was a company they made screws, right? Like literally screws, right? Thousands, millions.
Machine shop,
yeah, huge though. The biggest one in Canada. And so I was talking to them. And I'm like, you guys should change out these T12s and go, T5HO here and T8 over here, and we'll do sensors. It was 2008. Job closed in 2018.
Yeah, that's what's up. It's the long haul. It's the long haul.
I looked at the calls, the callbacks, and all that sort of stuff, like on the list.
Yeah. How many?
It was like, well, it stopped because we adopted a new system in 2013.
Yeah.
2013 and 2018 was like, 300 calls to the guy about the retrofit.
Damn.
25 meetings. Yeah. Keep following up, folks. It works.
I know.
Eventually, they're going to do it.
They got bulbs.
Yep. Eventually, they're going to do it.
Is Toronto pretty much tapped out for projects? Like, have most of the machine shops and offices and buildings been turned over to LED, so the market's already saturated? Because, like, Minnesota, like, it's still full.
Of T12s and T8s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Ontario is probably, I think when we last checked with the DLC, I think it was, Greg, that Ontario was the second leading jurisdiction for percentage of completion on LEDs. So 55%, 60%, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. If your sales reps are hunting, it's just harder.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the penetrate, like way more competitors in Toronto than there is in Minnesota per capita.
Yeah, so you got to be better and
there's
smarter,
way more people doing it. Like there's just
like people can easily like honestly, Johnny come lately comes in. The person's good at talking. The person that they're talking to, that's the decision maker, doesn't know a whole lot about lighting, and they're just like they're wowed on charisma and sign the line, and then those lights are dished.
Yeah, but those guys were right anyway. Those guys were right anyway. I mean, back in 2015 or 16, nobody knew what was going to last and what wasn't going to last. There was no such thing as quality. So the only thing that mattered was time in the game, right? So now Toronto is the epicenter of Johnny come lately. Okay, it's the epicenter because it has a million. Hang on. Whoa, hold your horses. It's got 1 million Chinese people or something like that in Toronto, like from China, right? So they're very connected to the mainland. And so they have connections in the lighting business. Yeah, a lot of them have connections in the lighting business. When I went to China and saw these factories, I came back and I recognized the brands.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A lot of them sell direct, so they'll send a guy over, or a factory will send somebody to Toronto. He'll set up a
Uh-huh.
shop in Toronto,
Oh man,
and he'll just send his stuff to
he just
Toronto.
cleans up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I guess it completely takes out any rep agency if they can just dish a guy into a market
Sure.
that's wide open.
I bought 20,000 tubes from one of those guys for like 30 cents or something each. Just wanted to get out of the game when COVID started.
Really? So you just got to close them out? Did you watch
Yeah, he
him
just
come
said
into the industry and then
50K
you got to knock them
50K
out?
50K. Well, I don't care about knocking them out. They all, long story
Well,
short,
it's
there.
fun though.
I don't have any spite. I don't really care either way. But he had all these 50K ballast compatible Type A tubes, and so
Ah, yeah, no.
I
I guess you can just slap them on your website and sell them for just as cheap.
Contractors come in and take a skid. $2 each, bud. Take them away. There's no warranty, but they're yours.
Yeah, who cares? They're 30 cents.
No, they're $2 to
slap.
the end user or whatever, right? So there you
I
go.
know, but even then, for them, getting a tube for $2 is still super good deal.
Sure. $2 Canadian,
Yeah.
buddy.
I don't know. I can't. I don't know loonies and toonies.
It's a dime.
Oh, nice.
Watch it, Greg Ehrich.
Throughout your entire careers accounting light bulbs, how have you had any really bad whiffs? Because like I know that your audit is supposed to be 97% accurate, but we're human, so sometimes you could miss a couple of rooms. And I know that like when I was working for an ESCO a couple of years ago, there were a couple audits that like I got dished to do the direct install for, and there were entire wings of areas that were missed. So it just kind of like put me in scramble mode when I was on site. So like from there, I was like, all right, I need these audits to be good so that like whoever I'm dishing them to can have a clean install. So I'm just wondering what your biffs are.
I don't really know what a
definitely
whiff
had
or a
mine.
biff is. You mean like a mess up?
Oh, like your audit wasn't 100% and you missed a good chunk and you had to deal with it on the back end.
Okay. You want to go first, Greg?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely happened. I've had that issue, personally, and then other reps that work for me too have had that where you totally miss an area or you miss a count. I don't recall necessarily one offhand, but I know that there have been them, and there's a couple ways to do it. When it comes up, is first you admit it to the customer. I always think that's the best way. Say, hey, I totally missed this, and I need to do what I can. And some are understanding and respectful to the situation, and they try to help, and others don't. And the ones that don't, you have to be creative and try to figure out a way to at least cover your costs. And sometimes you can do that with rebates and things, but it's never fun. So I always recommend getting as close to you as you can. Take the time to do it right up front so that you don't screw up at the end.
See, that's not a mistake. That's just a contract issue. If you have a good contract, you don't have to worry about the mistakes. So what you want to write in your contract is something like the scope of the work includes the items listed in the lighting schedule. And the price per fixture is this, and the price for the install is that. And should you have more than this, it's this. Right? And so if you screw up, right, you go in there and you screw up, it's like, yeah, shoot, I'm really sorry that we screwed up. Do you want us to stop, or do you want us to operate on clause 6.1, which allows you to purchase each additional fixture for $110? Oh, no, you said you were going to do everything. No, I didn't. I said I was going to do this. And I fucked up. I screwed up. Sorry, I keep swearing on this one. I don't know why. I'm sorry I screwed up, but I'm not giving you free lights.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. And our
electricians are reasonably priced. Our tubes are not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me finish my point, man. It's my show. Don't interrupt me. It's my show. It's my story too.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry that this didn't turn out the way we both imagined it to turn out. But you've got what the contract says you've paid for. Now, what I can do is discount it. What I can do is take you out for lunch, and we can talk about things or whatever. But I don't give away free lights, man.
I was at a buffer too.
I don't like buffers.
Why? Utility says 5% is reasonable.
I don't care what the utility says. They're not in charge of me. I don't like a
Well, they're
buffer.
paying.
My the way I do my schedules is the lighting schedule I do is too specific for buffers. I don't like a buffer.
What
But
exactly is a lighting schedule?
okay,
It
so a
might
lighting
just be
schedule is an
jargon.
Excel file. This is my definition.
Okay, yeah, I got
It's
you.
an Excel file that lists the room,
Mhm.
the
And what all
existing
the-
technology, how many, and then what we're going to replace it with, the hours per year, and then tabulates all that
Yeah.
into like a list, and then gives them the cost and the savings and all that stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I call a lighting schedule.
Okay. You're in an airplane hangar with 40-foot ceilings. They have 75 6-lamp T5 65K high bays. What type of system did this most likely replace? What do you believe is the best way to replace this with LED? What information do you need to know to properly retrofit?
Okay, number one. So you said it's a 6-lamp T8 and 65K.
6-lamp T5.
Yeah.
Oh, and
40-foot ceiling.
65K.
Or does that not happen?
The
Then it's
65K, not 5K. Okay, I said 65.
Yeah.
Or
5K.
5K. I said
A little more
65K, but I get to be new and ask bad questions.
No,
Well-
I mean it's not outrageous. You wouldn't have 3,000K in an airport hangar. I mean that
No,
would be weird.
But what my point of asking that is because in a 65, at least in a T8, a 65K, you lose like at least 500 lumens from a 5K, at least. So it's going to be much dimmer than a 6-lamp T8 5K would be. A 65K has less light, but let's not get there. So 6-lamp T5 is probably replaced a 400-watt metal halide at one point. In my opinion, that would have been overkill potentially. I mean, the 4-lamp T5 might have been able to do it, but a lot of contractors looked at the rebate back in the day and said, I can get it for the same rebate for a 4-lamp T5 or a 6-lamp T5. I don't care that it's 100 watts more. Who cares about energy savings? Let's get the rebate and maximize that. So a lot of them just threw up 6-lamp T5s. So what do you replace it with now? There are T5 Type B LED tubes, but they're typically not as high a lumen package as a HL T5. So it might not give you the same light. Then your option would be a brand new fixture. And if you're 6-lamp T5, I mean, you'd probably need to be in the 175, 200 watt range of an LED to make it equivalent for high bay.
I would say that you said a 40-foot ceiling.
Mhm.
I would look at how the fixtures were wired. So, for example, what you might have is like one junction box and then a wire running to two fixtures. So they did a 2-for-1 on a 1,000-watt metal halide or something. So if I saw that, then I would know that if I saw those wires like that, like often, like most of the fixtures are wired into one, two fixtures are wired into one box. I would know they did a 2-for-1.
Yep.
So that maybe then it would be 1,000, but other than that, I would say it's 400 watt. It depends on the voltage. If the voltage was 277 volt or less, I'd probably recommend, like if they asked me what to do, if it, I said, knowing what I know, I would do a bypass T5HO retrofit on your existing fixtures. Be the cheapest thing to do. It would be, I tell them like, hey, if something went wrong, I can just send you a new box of tubes, and then you just change them. It's like in 2 years, like we have a whole mass fail out in here. It's like it's an easy problem to fix. Yeah, and then the manufacturers are very likely to support it. That kind of a catastrophic failure like that, and then if they said we want new fixtures, which would probably be double the price or three. What would you say, Greg? Double the price?
Of tubes?
Maybe triple, actually. In that
Triple.
application.
Yeah, that's usually, yeah.
So I'd say to them, like that's option one. That's what I would do.
Mhm.
Right? Like if everything here is light level and energy savings and rebate, that's what I would do if I were you. And I also think it's a better solution. And then if they said, no, we want to do new fixtures, I would say, okay, well, we'd pick the fixture they want, and I'd give them the price. And then I think Greg nailed it in the lumen range. And then I don't know, would you offer them some kind of control over the fixtures now, Greg? Would you get into that? I don't think I would yet.
Yeah, if anything, a sensor built onto the fixture is the easiest way to go always.
Yeah.
Whether it makes sense or
What about
know.
Bluetooth mesh or something like that? Would you get into that with them yet?
No, who wouldn't?
What about you, Greg?
At that height, especially, I don't know that I would. To me, if I'm going to do Bluetooth, I want it to be tight, like an office where I can see my fixture, I can reach it, that kind of thing easily. I don't want to have something floating 40 feet up that I hope can reach it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only I don't see any upside at all. Only hassles from a Bluetooth mesh system in that thing. It's like, well, someone's got to monitor it now. What are they doing with it? What are they going to
I
do?
had a guy who's in a big, I think it's like 150,000 square foot facility that they recently did a full Bluetooth mesh connected system. He has a section of his production facility that has 2 very underlit areas in like a corridor that's like 100 feet. He took a picture of it, sent it to me, said, hey, can you get me new fixtures? I sent him an email that was just like standard Keystone and High Bay fixtures. And like, it just didn't work because those wouldn't integrate into the new system. I had to ask him what the existing system was to try and track down whatever product he currently had in there. And it was just like all this stuff just to add 2 fixtures that could be $1,000, but is not.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I'm not sure that high bay open area application really has a lot of upside for controls. Yeah. Next question. Not controls, sorry. Integrated addressable IoT Bluetooth mesh.
Having it all talk to each other.
Not sure if it matters.
You got a 75 watt metal halide recessed can and a 12-inch office entrance, or a 12-inch can for the office entrance. What type of CFL are you retrofitting it with? What is the pin type, wattage, and ballast, if you got it in your brand?
70 watt metal halide?
75. Or I guess it'd be 70.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a 70, and there's no way I would ever recommend a CFL.
Well, this is pre-LED.
Pre-LED.
Yeah.
What did we? Induction. No, ceramic metal halide.
No. What about the screw in? The high loom. The high looms. Do you remember those?
Yeah, you could do like those big bombers.
Yeah. So what you do is I leave it. So you're talking horizontal base up, right? Fixture. It's a recessed can. It's not sideways. It's
directly down.
Yeah, horizontal base up. And so you got a big 12-inch, which means that the bulb is probably pretty far deep into the fixture, right? So it's probably, if it's a 12-inch, there's no flat panels with metal halide. If it's 12 inches wide, it means it's probably 12 inches deep too, right? So it's pretty high up there. I'd probably grab just like an E26 Edison base, disconnect the ballast, run it line voltage, and screw in a 32 watt or 42 watt spiral CFL at 50K. Bing bong bong.
Right.
You're done.
And as long as you got to check voltage on that. But yeah, that's.
I mean, in Canada we have 347 volt, but we for example, a lot of times you'll have combos of 347 and 120, and when you're going down wattage in a whole facility, you have lots of electricity available to you. So what we would do is maybe find the first line of it, chop it from the 347 and plug it into one of the other lighting circuits, and it's 120. Right, that's it. Screw that thing in. Yeah. So we do stuff like that a lot, right? Where other people wouldn't quote it. I love those things. I love a good weird application. That's where I make the most money. You never go into those offices where there's 2 front doors and then it's 2 stories to make it look like a magical mystery tour company. They have the reception desk is there at the front, and there's access only. You got to fill out a pass, and they would always have 8, 10, 12 of those big nasty HIDs up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do those. Those were such good projects. You could also put, a lot of times you could do a couple things. You could do that retrofit. You could do some LEDs maybe. But then you could also do some daylight harvesting, because a lot of times the whole front is a window.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love those applications. Those were one of my favorites. Those big ass HIDs. Ooh, give me some of those all day long. I'll make some money for sure.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
What purpose does the plastic end of a T12 HO serve compared to a standard bi-pin?
Recessed double contact. It's so it can be sealed. So on a recessed double contact HO socket, there's a plastic seal.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you plug that into there, it's sealing it. I wouldn't say it's like a vapor tight quite level, but that seals that recessed double contact base. So that's the reason why you're using that.
Okay. What exterior retrofit options were available for HID before LED?
Not many.
There were CFLs, and we did some. There were CFLs with reflectors that you could do like on
The
a wall
pack. Packs were too tight, dude. You always had a reduction in light.
It was if you could even retrofit it. Otherwise, you did a new fixture that had a CFL in it. And there are some people that did linear fluorescence, on pole lights.
I know
they're
they
still
were
out
horrible. Oh man,
it's disgusting.
T5HO, buddy. Yeah.
200 of
Gross.
Woo! Big ass thing sticking out, big vapor tank coming out of the end of the pole. Oh God.
4 foot long, flying out there. Not good.
Man.
Nasty.
We probably got.
You guys ever? I've asked Greg a couple times. Have you guys ever, or have you sold any induction lighting?
Never sold an induction fixture in my life. Never sold an induction fixture in my life. Always hated induction.
They last so long.
No, they don't.
Yes, I don't know. Okay, my one example of it, they bought it 10 years ago. It is still running strong. I felt like that I shouldn't be replacing these, but I didn't get the sale, so it didn't matter. But
yeah, I mean,
I've sold about
20. 20. That's
20
it.
fixtures. Yeah.
I never liked induction. And you know what? Induction was like the reincarnation. The guys that worked in induction was the reincarnation of the long life crowd.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean, Greg? It was the long life crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, that was a big part of the industry from the 70s to the 90s.
Yeah, long life.
Long life, baby.
I guarantee you got to pay $20 for this T12 because I give it a guarantee. Right?
Yeah.
So you're buying it 5 times.
Right.
It's a long. What's his warranty? What are you talking about? Warranty? There's no warranty. So the long life crowd kind of reincarnated themselves with induction. I always got like a weird whiff test with that induction stuff, and there were there were some good guys that sold induction, but I never liked it, man.
Well, we're running up on something here, Mike.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, give us your best. Yeah, close it out with your best question there.
Oh man.
And we can repeat another time if needed.
Yeah, I got what is your favorite LED sale? Like if you could pick the exact project that you would want to sell and it looked aesthetically pleasing and it was just perfect, happy customer, what are you offering and what type of product are you doing?
It's hard to say. I mean, aesthetically pleasing is not always the best from a maintenance standpoint long term. So if somebody's looking at their long term ability to replace lights and do all that, tubes are what I recommend. If they want a better looking fixture and their lenses are all nasty and cracked, then the direct indirect center basket style LED. If it's an office or if it's a warehouse, it's a high bay, just a rectangle square high bay. There's all sorts of them out there, but not a round high bay. Stay away from those. So I think you gotta answer that question first, and then once that is answered, you can do that. And then if anything, it would be to have potentially wall dimming and wall sensors, things like that are not network controlled. I like that idea. It gives them flexibility and it's pretty easy to do.
My favorite jobs are, and we got to go in 1 minute, but my favorite jobs to do are the front facades of historical buildings.
Nice.
And I really enjoy learning about the building and why it's important, and then preserving the look of the building and being able to add the facade lighting without wrecking any of the exterior.
Crisp white light.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about white. Sometimes they want to go lower Kelvin temperatures. They want to change colors and stuff like that at night. They want to go purple, green, blue. They want to be able to do the Raptors colors if they win the thing. They want to be able to change it, right? That kind of stuff is fun. Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is really fun. Ryan Krueger, thanks for being a guest on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate your guys' time.
No problem, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
that old nasty industrial fixture you have that you see, and the reflector is so dirty it can't be cleaned. It's burned on grease, whatever, man. You got to throw in that Keystone. What do they call them, Greg?
Integrated strip retrofit kit.
Boom!
Show it on the screen there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, what color was that reflector? Was it silver? Was it white? I don't know. It's brown now. It's orange.
Yep.
It's black. It's not what it was supposed to be. It's not doing anything. So you need to replace it, right?
Sure.
Get rid of that thing.
Way
Clean that thing up. And
easier than taking. I'm so sick of people going, it's so much easier to replace the fixture. No, it's not, buddy. I don't care what anyone says. I've been doing this for 20 years, buddy. It is 99% of the time, if it's good, it's easier to retrofit. And this product is amazing, man. I forgot what it was called exactly, but I know exactly what they mean. So, yeah, KeystoneTech.com coming out with another hot one just for the peeps. Come on, Greg. Go to KeystoneTech.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. Woo! And the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's NAILD.org. Where it all started, man, Get a Grip on Lighting is basically just a representation of all of the beautiful people in Nailed and all the great conversations Greg and I had over the years. And eventually we just pushed record. And now we're here. That's how it worked. And of course, Ryan Krueger, it was your honor. I agree. You're welcome. To those who listened, thank you.
Written on the rectory wall, there's a sign there for all. If you are lost, the Lord is there to find you.